welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. We are joined by an amazing couple today in the spirit of the holiday season to talk about the most important things that truly grounds us as humanity and allows for sustainable thriving of any business. Think about what we all crave as individual human beings. We want to be respected on one hand, and we want people to treat us with kindness and compassion. Imagine if the business world approached things that way, how much better the experience for all stakeholders are going to be. When I take a step back and think about where did capitalism come from and what was the actual purpose of capitalism? When Adam Smith, as an ethicist from Scotland, gave us the blueprint for capitalism, he named it Wealth of Nations. And he built it on the foundation of moral sentiments. He actually wrote the book Theory of Moral Sentiments first. And then sitting on top of that, he gave the blueprint for capitalism that talked about the wealth of nations. And he felt that the colonial masters had been unkind and disrespectful to the communities they went into. And the only way to give the countries their claim back to their own wealth is to truly step away from that colonial way of economics and move in to the capitalist way of economics. And he gave a prescription of how that should work. There should be the worker, which he classified as labor, and then there should be the capital or the investor. And he felt that the investor and the capital may have swings up and down, and one might take advantage of the other in order to have a referee or a fulcrum for it to balance like a seesaw. He prescribed regulations. So he said, labor and capital coming in the presence of regulation. And when that balance happens, there is going to be an opportunity for every country to build its wealth. And he based on the premise that the morality and the humanity of people are going to always triumph. And we are going to make sure we hold people accountable to society, and that social ostracization would be the deterrent. That's what he expected. Karl Marx came right behind him and said, great recommendation. We need to get out of colonialism to go into capitalism. But the fundamental flaw in Adam Smith's prescription or formulation of capitalism is at some point, those with capital are going to take advantage of labor, and regulation is going to get compromised. So capitalism is going to become its own gravedigger. And that's his literal statement translated in English. And that gives the rite of passage for workers to rise up to give rise to socialism, where it is not the capital that is driving everything, it's labor and the labor force. But Adam Smith also said the true wealth is created by labor. Money cannot make money. Money helps buy raw material or invest in raw material, and workers, labor converts that to finished goods. And it's those finished goods that go into market and create economic value. So the true value creator is labor. And in the presence of the value of the labor, then the countries can build its wealth. We've gone way past that. We've wandered off the reservation, right? So we have somehow taken capitalism that started off well in the United States and brought it into a mimicry of colonialism, because now instead of colonial masters, we've traded for corporate masters, right? When we think of big corporations. And that hurts me when I see this, because I've researched in this, I write in this, I teach in this, I work in this space. And what makes my heart warm is Christine and David Fells, both of you are truly dedicated to upholding and honoring that premise of capitalism, right? You truly bring that humanity and valuing the worker and bringing that human connection of love and respect and kindness to show to the world how business should be run. And I am so honored that you have made yourself available to come and have this conversation with us today, because nothing like people having the opportunity to see instead of saying, oh, that's not what I know. Nobody does like this, because it's not sensational. Media doesn't come. So today, with your help, we are going to bring to the world how this can be done right, and in the process build a thriving business where both the owners and the workers are happy. It is not a confrontational process. And how does this sit in the sweet spot of Goldilocks? Goldilocks is all about balance. How do we get it just right? Not too hard, not too soft, not too cold, not too hot, right? So how do we find that right balance between successful outcomes and results and humanity and kindness and respect? And they both can coexist. And so to kick it off, Christina and David, welcome. Welcome to Unleashing Goldilocks.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
My pleasure. So as we get started, I want you to talk about, David, you are the third generation, I believe, of your business, and talk a little bit about what it felt to inherit this business. How does it feel to run it?
I think, well, just for some clarification, I'm the third generation fails in Wyoming. And my grandparents homesteaded here in Wyoming in 1918. They came from Missouri and broke the sagebrush off the land and began farming. And then I was privileged to be raised on a farm and cattle operation with my father. And now as I was born here and grateful for that, but I've lived all over the United States and respect all people. But I appreciated how my father, how he treated people and people that worked for us on our farm. He was always so respectful of them, and I always learned from that. But this is a business, it's not a third generation business, but we're third generation in Wyoming. Okay. But Christina and I did found the business 12 years ago from our roots in Wyoming, is I guess one of the better ways to say it.
Beautiful.
But
I should say David's roots in Wyoming. I'm actually from Boise, Idaho.
Sorry.
But I am adopted in. So yes.
Beautiful.
But it's been I think as we go through, there's different things that brought us here to get to the point of this dream we had of having this business, because I worked for corporations across the United States, Chiquita Brands International and others, and had some good examples along the way of treating people with respect. But maybe Christine could just take a minute and talk about how we got back to Wyoming from having lived from Boston to Los Angeles in the corporate world. And then maybe we can tell a little bit more about our company.
Well, we have had an interesting journey. And one thing I knew about David was he always loved Wyoming and he always loved cattle. And we tried on different occasions to move back here, and it didn't work out. And so we continued on our journey in the corporate world. But I read a book called The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. And he talked about achieving your childhood dreams. So I read it and suggested that David read it. And I said, I achieved my childhood dream. I wanted to marry a wonderful husband and have lots of children. And we were blessed with 11 children. So I said to him, what was your childhood dream? And I realized that you can be married to someone for a long time and not really know what's in their heart and mind. And he said to me, as we were living in a house in a beautiful neighborhood in Boise, Idaho, well, my dream was to live in Wyoming on a little ranch and work with cattle. And I said, I think we're in the wrong spot. And so we, at that point, were able to move to Wyoming. And about a year after that, we started this business. And I just want to point out that David is a real Wyoming cowboy. I put on my cowgirl hat and put on my cowgirl shirt when we go to trade shows. But
And she's great.
But David has a love for business. And fortunately, we started out when he worked for a really good company right out of college. He should tell you about that, because that's where we understood the value of treating people well
With
in a
respect.
company.
Yeah. So yes, thanks for that background, Christine. Because after leaving Wyoming, graduating from high school, I went to Brigham Young University, got a degree in economics, and Christine and I were both going to college there. Eventually, I went to USC and got my MBA in Los Angeles. But at BYU, a year after we were married, and we've been married 50 and a half years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary in March. But in March of 1973, there was an executive lecture from an owner of a successful nationwide company out of Los Angeles that came and spoke to students in the business school at BYU. And one of the things that really impressed us was that, and it was a standing room only event. Christine had a seat on the front row with our oldest daughter. She was a baby and I stood in the back. But it really impressed me that he said that the golden rule is a sound principle for living and also for business. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And we were that company, it really struck us. And he also had something about sharing the profits, when to share profits with the people that employed. It was a women's clothing company. And he, when I joined, so after the lecture, I went down, I says, I really am impressed with what you said, Mr. Erdesack. And I said, I've just been accepted to the business school at USC. Do you think I might be able to interview? And he says, oh, I'd love to interview you. I'd love to interview and perhaps have someone from this college work for us. He says, my daughter just graduated from USC. And one thing led to another. In January of 1974, 49 years, it'll be 49 years next month, I had the privilege of starting to work for them. And he was just such a great example of, we must have had probably over 1,000 employees, or between 500 and 1,000, but he was just so respectful of everybody. And it was a great example for me. So I tried to keep that. And the vice president of sales I worked for was very respectful. They knew everybody's name. And so we've tried to, as I've gone through my career, in different parts of the country, I've tried to really take that with me. But as I mentioned early on, my father was a great example of that, and my mother, treating people with respect. On our farm, in our cattle operation, we had hired people, and Dad always tried to treat them with the utmost of respect. And it was just a great example for me. And then to find this company that was, they were doing about 25 million in sales when I joined them in 1974. And when I finally left for another opportunity, 7.5 years later, we were doing over 60 million. But it just was an amazing example to me. So we've tried to do that in our own business now. And that's just some background. And I don't know if you want me to, I can talk about some other experiences I've had along the path and our current business. And if you'd like us to now, I don't know what you'd like us to do.
Beautiful. I appreciate the setup, and I can see the love and respect and connection Christine and David, you have between yourselves, right? So part of what I am observing as I am watching you speak, when one of you speak, the other looks at with such adoration and respect, you embody this. When you embody this and you bring it, then everybody is going to emulate, because when you are a business owner, you're like mom and dad and everybody is your family, right? And when children see mom and dad so much in love and with respect to one another, and they wait on each other with such, I mean, I can actually see the longing in your face while you listen to the other talk, right? And giving time for each other, you're holding space for each other, and you're lifting up each other. So part of this is not what somebody taught you, but something you both inherently embody. And when I read your website and when I did my research to have you on today, one of the things that struck me is you actually proudly talk about the code of the West. So you have the love and the humanity you bring naturally, and then you integrate that with the code of the West. Can you take a moment and talk about that? Because too many people have values and codes, but they don't have the courage to live it. You're not afraid to show your love. You're not afraid to show your respect in a world where people are defined roles and you're supposed to play those roles.
Well, thank you. I think one of the things we've tried to do in this business, we founded 12 years ago. We're still an emerging national business and still have our struggles as a company, but we're in our 10th year as a company with our USDA plant. But we really have tried to show respect to everybody. And one thing I try to tell people when I walk around the plant or see them, I says, try to make sure everybody knows, I says, your job and responsibility is just as important as mine. We just may have different responsibilities, but what you do is so critical. We both try to do our best. And I think that has created a good environment. Everybody feels that, that I totally respect them. If people are coming through the door, if I can open the door for them, I try to. It's only because I really do love them. I appreciate them. They're all trying their best. And it's a beautiful thing to watch them do this. But I think the code of the West is, it's kind of living each day with courage is kind of the first point.
Yeah, just read the whole thing.
And you take pride in your work, always finish what you say, do what has to be done, be tough but fair. When you make a promise, keep it. It's very important. Ride for the brand, or just be loyal. Talk less and say more. Remember that some things aren't for sale. And that certainly applies to honesty and integrity and politeness and respecting everybody, and know where to draw the line. So,
we actually have it hanging in our office.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. So everybody.
It's an important part of our. It's an important part of our decor. Thanks, Christine.
We want all of our employees to know that this is how we feel. Mm-hmm. And we have an open door policy. David keeps his office door open. We have company lunches once a month. And I cook all the food and we celebrate birthdays. I make treats. And when I meet a new employee, I'll say, have you met my husband, David, yet? And usually they say, well, no. I said, next time you walk by his office, just walk in and say hi. He'd love to meet you. And everyone knows that David honors them, respects them, and wants to know their name, wants to know their background. And so when you mentioned about being like a family, that's the environment we've tried to keep. We want to be a family.
Definitely.
Fabulous. And the fact that you take the time, Christine, to cook and celebrate the birthdays as his other half, better half, however you call yourselves, right?
Definitely better.
Spouse, right? So as his spouse, you truly are creating that safe space. And in families, kids are always tepid about going to the dad. They'd rather go to the mom first and check things out. And you're stimulating that in your business, right? You're welcoming them, you're embracing them. There is no better way to show somebody your love than sharing a meal, cooking and feeding them, right? So you're doing those things that are maternal and nurturing. And in a way, what you're saying is, have you gone to talk to dad? Go talk to him, make sure, right? So creating that kind of warmth and safety They don't have to feel like, oh, should I go talk to him? No, no, no. His wife said I could. So it's a safe place. And so I love how you play off of each other so naturally. It's not something you practice to do, but it's how you live. How do you help other people emulate this? Because you don't have to be a married couple to run a business and run it with kindness and respect, right? What 3 tips would you have for other businesses to take a page from you and replicate?
Well, I just think being, trying to, treat others as you would like to be treated is foundational. And the company that I worked for prior to us founding this company in 2010 was Chiquita Brands International. They had a large salad division called Fresh Express Salads. And I had the privilege of being very involved in the management of that business nationwide. But the president of the company, Mark Drever, was very sensitive to others. And we had thousands and thousands of employees, it seemed like. But we tried to really treat them with respect. Like, for example, if we were at a sales meeting or something, if we were going to have a national sales meeting, and we had 35 to 40% of the US market, he would always, and if somebody had one of their children had a basketball game, a dance recital or something, he said, David, don't go to the meeting. You go to your children's event. And it was always very impressive to me how he did that, because he was running $1 billion business. And he was always so concerned that we, as the management, the employees, and I don't know how far down it went in the organization, but I just really respected that of him and Steve Taylor, who owned it. They were very concerned that we always put our families first, which was just something I thought was very admirable.
Another example, when my father had a stroke in Boise, Idaho, and we were in
Salinas,
California, and he was about to die. They used their private company plane to fly our family up there so we could be there before he died.
They said, how soon can you get to the Salinas airport? I said, well, probably in an hour. They just flew us in. So they were great examples of really being sensitive to others. And I think they would have done this for others as well. And in their own way, they did. And we had amazing company events, but they were always very interested in us as individuals. So when we moved, and the reason we moved to Cody, Wyoming from Salinas, California, which is near Monterey and Carmel, right there, half hour from the Pacific Ocean, was because my dad had turned 92 years of age in June of 2009, and we wanted to be closer to him. And we had actually, and it's a long story, but I said, I really need to go to Cody, Wyoming to be near my dad because he's getting older and I need to work remotely. And this is before COVID and everything. I said, okay. So anyway, for 1.5 years, we worked here in Cody so we could be near my father. And I just thought that was very humane of them in the capitalism world to do that. And it really was a gift to us. And then the headquarters moved from Salinas, California to Charlotte, North Carolina. And I got a call one day and they said, David, we're not sure nobody's quite sure what you're doing up in Wyoming. I was running their organic salad business for them nationwide at the time, remotely. But we had a mutual parting of the ways. It was a great experience working for them. And as my oldest living son said, he said, Dad, you've just been given a gift. You can now start your dream. You can now start this company in Wyoming with Wyoming cattle. And
beautiful.
So that's how we started it. But we've just had some great examples in business along the way, and we've tried to definitely incorporate that in our own company.
Yes.
I love that you shared that couple of examples without any reservation and put your heart out there. It was very, very moving. And I know it was not easy to share that example, but thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing it because it truly allows the audience and me to understand the depth of this, right? Too many times people think that business is transactional, and everybody, the minute they scan their ID and come into the office or the plant where they work, they're no longer human. They just have tasks to do. They're not butts on seats or people standing in a line performing tasks. These are actual living, breathing human beings. And so you have taken your experience and then you're passing it forward. And thank you for sharing that. As we are trying to understand what your business entails, can you give us a very brief description of what are all the things that happen in your business? Because most of us don't understand what goes on in the business unless we have the privilege of coming and actually watching all of that magic happen.
Okay, I can tell about so after leaving Chiquita Brands International, we were here in Cody, and so the vision of the company was to source all natural Angus cattle from Wyoming ranches, and take that product and take it nationwide and internationally. The idea of origin of food, so you know where your food is from, and something very natural. We have beautiful, pristine ranches here in Wyoming, and I was privileged to live in the shadows of Yellowstone Park and in the Rocky Mountains. And so anyway, what we do is we source these cows, and we were able to build the first USDA plant in the state of Wyoming, which was amazing. It was a miracle in itself. We had support from the governor of the state of Wyoming, who we met at an event, and he heard what we were doing and asked for a meeting with Christine and I down in his office. And anyway, one thing led to another, and we got some grant money, we raised capital, and just tried to be totally honest with everybody. Hey, this is an entrepreneurial venture. It has its risks, but I've had these 30 plus years of experience in the food industry nationwide, and we believe we can make this happen, and people believed in us. So what we basically do is we source our all natural grass-fed cows from Wyoming ranches, and we make all natural beef sticks, 1 ounce beef sticks. And this is just an example here of what we do. This is a carton, and we have these beef sticks, and we have beef jerky as well on our bag. And it's been I think the thing that's been important is that we try to be very, very, and have a lot of integrity in where we source our cows, so everybody knows where they're from. And we're just amazed that we've been able to get into accounts like Publix in Florida and Georgia and all over the Southeast. We're now in Sprouts nationwide. We're in 7-Eleven in about half of their stores. We're in 70 Walmarts in the Rocky Mountain region. We're in Natural Grocers, a chain out of Denver. And they've all just valued what we've tried to do. And
I would like to mention that it's not just all natural beef. We also have all natural ingredients. And I have a little story I want to tell about that. Because yes. I said to David, we can't put artificial stuff in our beef sticks. I won't eat them. I can only eat like I cook at home. It has to be all natural. And so we talked to a man who was going to make our jerky at first before we had our plant. And I asked him if he knew how to make all natural jerky. And he said, I've been in the industry for 25 years. It's impossible. You have to use MSG. You have to use all these other things to make it taste good. And so I tried to be very respectful to him. And I said, well, do you know how to buy some celery juice powder for something natural? He goes, yeah, I know, I could buy some. I said, okay, make me some jerky and just leave out the MSG, put in the celery juice powder, and let's try it. said, well, I'll make it for you, but it won't taste good. A week later, he calls me up and I go back to his plant and sit down at his desk, pours out this little bag of jerky on a plate, has this little smile on his face. We both pick it up, we start eating it. He goes, it's good. It was good. And so I was grateful that he was willing to work with me. And, I didn't want to offend him. And we actually became friends. And when we started making our beef sticks, we did jerky first and beef sticks. I said, I need to talk to you about beef sticks. He goes, I know. No MSG, and just celery juice powder. And so, we put other natural spices in it too. But yes. And I guess I'll tell another little story. The first trade show we went to, there's a woman who
was in San Francisco, I think it was.
She was in a natural. She's natural. What I can't forget. Well, she's actually in the medical field.
Naturopathy.
Yes, and so she'd walked past our booth, and then she waited till the very end and came up and talked to us when no one else was there. And she said, she had tears in her eyes. She says, I don't know if you really know what you're doing in helping this next generation with your natural products, your natural snack products. Kids can be healthy. They don't have to eat all the junk food. Because at that time, there wasn't another product like ours on the market. Now there are. But we feel like we've been a good influence in the industry.
Been grateful.
And also the companies that used to just have terrible ingredients, I won't name their names, they have improved what they put in their beef sticks too. So I think as far as a quick, healthy snack, we've been a leader in the industry, and we're still small. We're just making a little impact here and there, but we're grateful for the interest people have in wanting to have good health, and we get to be a part of it. That makes us happy.
So two things resonate for me, Christine, as I'm hearing you tell these two stories. One, it's really never the size of who you are. It's the size of the impact you make, right? So it's like this tiniest pepper has the biggest spice impact. And the biggest pepper is sweet and it doesn't have any spice, right? So size really doesn't matter. The impact you're creating is important. And personally, I have been caring for a cancer patient husband for the last 4 years. And one of the things I have done ever since I have married my husband, who's from Pennsylvania, Dutch country, is slowly wean him out of the American food culture of all processed to all natural. Because growing up in Sri Lanka, I never ate a chicken unless it was live when I bought it, right? So I've never eaten frozen food. I've never eaten processed food. And the first time my husband cooked for me, my whole face swelled up. I looked like a chimpanzee because he had opened cans and there were chemicals in the cans. And my body couldn't process. By the time we were done dinner, I didn't look like a human anymore, right? So we laughed about it, but I told him, no, we were just friends those days. The very next day, I went with the trash bag and threw all his cans away.
Great.
So the joke in our family has been, I always shop in the perimeter of a grocery store because that's what nature made.
Yeah.
All the aisles are man-made and they're chemicals. And my husband always said, I will convert to a organic island Mediterranean type diet, but I need my snacks from time to time. And so he says American motto is better living through chemistry. But with his colon cancer, he has completely given up all his processed food, even for snacks, and he sees the value. And we detected in stage 1 and is officially in remission just with food.
Wonderful.
And so food has a huge impact. And I am personally grateful that you're leading the efforts here, because what you're doing is help create a wellness culture. Because when people are healthy, they can go and follow their dreams, and the nation and the society is healthy. Putting toxicity in the name of profits, then pharmaceuticals coming right behind with drugs, everybody is keeping the toxicity level maintained and profiting from it, instead of making people healthy so that they can live a happy life. How do you feel about being a part of this movement and leading this?
Well, I think it's very important. We're grateful for our products, that they are received well in some of these large chains like Publix and Sprouts and others. I remember the buyer at Publix, which is a $40 billion grocery chain, the 5th largest in the US. The buyer said, we've got to have these other products. I won't name their names, but I don't ever eat them, but I love to eat your products. and that is we felt good about that. And then the buyer at Sprouts, and this has just been the last 5 to 6 months, he said, these are just some of the best products. They're healthy. We know where the food is from. We're just so honored and grateful to have them in our stores. And we've only been in about 6 weeks, so we'll see how it goes. But we're in all 380 of their stores from Los Angeles to Philadelphia. But anyway, I think it's been great to be part of that movement. I just want to go back a little bit to our employees and how I think we try to let them know how much we appreciate them for helping with this. At each of our company lunches, especially, Christine is great at telling everybody how much we appreciate you, we love you, and I say it in my own way. I don't say we love you, but I do say we certainly appreciate you, and Christine will say we love you. But they know that I think there's mutual respect, and I want to give one example of a person who came into our door about 2 months ago. She came in very broken. She said, I've just come from an abusive relationship in Montana, and I'm here in Cody now, and I'm wondering if you might have work. And we were hiring at the time. We employ about 20 people at any one time. And anyway, I think we try to be very sensitive to her, but she has just turned out to be an amazing part of our company and employee. Just very responsible, very competent, and she was not doing well the day she walked in, but she really does appreciate us, and she's always saying, thank you so much. And I try to say to our employees when they leave, if I see them when they're leaving, I say, thank you so much for coming today and being part of us. And I'm just trying to make them feel that they're part of what we're trying to do with this all natural beef product for healthy snacks. And I think it's been heartwarming. We're still struggling as a company in our own way because we're an emerging company against giant companies. Yes. But we are on the shelf in some major retailers, and we're starting our 10th year as a company with our USDA plant. And we're just grateful for all blessings, and we really feel our culture has helped us. We have some employees like our USDA plant manager. He's been with us since August 2011 for 11 years. We have other employees who've been with us 8 years, 7 years.
There's one woman who's been with us 8 years, and she said, these are her words. Another day in paradise. Paradise? And it's really hard work. She always just laughs and just says, another day in paradise. For 8 years, she's been saying that.
Yeah, she gave us a beautiful Christmas card this year, and she works so hard for us. These employees are just amazing to us. We're just so grateful for them. And I'm always telling them, thank you so much for doing everything that you do. And I said, we're all, as I mentioned earlier, we're just equals here. We've got different responsibilities, but if you don't do what you do and I don't do what I do, we don't have a company. And I think that's getting back to some of your opening remarks. I really appreciated those because it is the balance that we're striving to have between, us as founders, and then our employees, and And we've got some investors, outside investors that have been just huge for us as well. And I think they certainly have sensitivities in their own way for people. And I just want to say that overall with our company and our culture, and even as we look back over our career, we just feel we have been blessed by our God. We have been sent some wonderful people. We've had some wonderful examples from coast to coast. Anyway, we're just grateful that what we have and that we are where we are. But our people, we have nothing without them, without the labor, as you referred to in your earlier remarks, Cass, because they make everything happen. I mean, yes, I work on bringing in new accounts and all the things I do, but it's just, if we can always look at life in our companies as we're all part of a puzzle, we're part of the mechanism that makes everything go. And if we can have a pleasant, positive culture within it, we can have some joy in our life, whether we're not perfect, no one is, but it's a goal to have everybody have a happy, joyful life, because we're only on this earth for X number of years, and it's just a gift to know everybody we do know. That makes sense, Christine?
That is beautifully said. And with that words of wisdom, those touching words of wisdom, that truly is how you show up every day as husband and wife and founders of the business. I am going to open this up for a couple of questions before we wrap up. And we all know where all your products are, so we are going to support you. Every opportunity we get, we're actually going to enjoy your products. And I have already shared the business link with everybody so that the world can see where they can go and look into more about you. And when we release this on YouTube, we are going to make sure your business link is also there. So let me open this up for questions. Stuart, I know you're joining us from far away from China. So do you want to go ahead and share your thoughts based on what you're hearing?
I mean, it's wonderful to hear that there's people with businesses or in companies, and even companies themselves, that actually care about their workers as people. Because too often, they're just cogs in a wheel. And the whole business philosophy here is more like the cogs in the wheel situation. When I was teaching English when I first came here, one thing that really irritated me was the fact that the management knew things and they would only tell you 5 minutes beforehand. So there's no time to prepare. I can remember it was, I was going to a class, and they told me, no, you're not teaching at this school anymore. You're going to our sister school. 5 minutes before I was due to start the class. And they did the same with everything. So to hear, that David is not only considerate, but he loves the people who work for him as people. I think that is a really special thing, and I wish more people could do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying. We really try, for sure.
Well, people are difficult, but I'm sure you do more than just try.
Gotta try, for sure, every day.
Nandini, as you are listening to this as a medical doctor, with everything that is going on in the world with food and health, is there anything you want to share?
No, it's just very refreshing to see that the culture in a company can exist with the ideals of mutual respect and equality, especially in a hierarchical society that we have. I think, and when people work with love, the food is filled with that positive energy too, because everything has energy, right? So thank you for doing that and bringing this to the world's attention, because I think everything, when you make something with anger or with irritation, then even in your own house, sometimes the same thing you cook, if you're cooking it in a bad mood, it doesn't taste as good.
That's awesome.
Very good.
Well, thank you for those
So-
comments.
You're
Pleasure
welcome.
to see you.
You too.
Thank you. Go ahead, Robin. I know you are chomping at the bits to say something.
So in full transparency to the audience who will listen to this later, Christine is my sister, David is my brother-in-law. And when I was on Cass's show of some months ago, they were on. And so I introduced them. And David and I actually gave a presentation together at the Association for Financial Professionals. I'll just make a quick comment and I have a question for you. The Association for Financial Professionals at their national conference in Washington, D.C., totally hardcore finance people. David and Christine both came in their full cowboy regalia, walking through the halls of the conference center in Washington, D.C. It was awesome. Anyway, so David shared 3 different business scenarios he had been over. One, a company that was skyrocketing in sales, one, a company that was tanking in sales, one, a company that was kind of stagnant. How do we get it to increase? And so 3 totally different business scenarios, and how he used these principles of resilience and humanity to help each scenario be successful. And just one quick comment is when this company was tanking and he needed to go in and talk with it was a potato company made French fries, he had to go talk with the workers, so he went around the clock every shift for 24 hours. He, like 3 a.m, he'd be out working with going out and talking to the workers to say, hey, this is what's happening, this is what we need to do. And they said it's the first time ever that anybody from upper management had come down to the actual plant to talk with the people who were peeling the potatoes, cutting them, et cetera. That's just his humanity. But one thing I was going to ask David is, I know you started this company, as the president, CEO, et cetera, but then you realized that there's someone else who had more experience than you in this specific area of beef. And so you stepped aside as president and then take over other roles. And to me, that is really remarkable that you would have the humility to say, hey, I want this company to succeed. And there's someone who has the skill set that I don't have. I'll step aside and let him take that, wear that hat of president. And so what was it about you? What was it that enabled you to, because that's really unheard of in the business world, that someone would give up power, so to speak, and step aside in order for the whole to be successful. So I'm wondering, what kind of enabled you to do that?
Yeah, well, I think it was just that, he called in October of 2019 and gave me his background. He had all this protein experience in the meat industry. I had experience with salads and yogurt and French fries and all of this. And we were still emerging as a company, and I could see we could really benefit from somebody like that. And I just have a lot of, regard for our employees, our investors. I want this thing to be successful, because I think in life we need to have an abundance mentality. And anyway, we just welcomed this individual was willing to, he lives remotely, he lives in Philadelphia. He's out here about one week a month, but he's an awesome individual, very much like we are, very sensitive to employees. But I think the way we were able to do it, it's just that I felt it was the right thing to have at that juncture in our company to keep us growing, and we have grown. We probably added $1 million in sales since he joined, which has been great. And we're just very. It's just important to have an abundance mentality and realize. And I'm founder of the company. He's president. We work great together. We're a team, and as in so many things, 2 is often better than 1. And but I'm really, but yeah, you just have to have humility in life and to look for the greater good. And I've had no regrets whatsoever. And I knew it was the right thing to do, to bring in somebody who really had that more specific meat industry experience. And it's been awesome. So
Great.
great.
Thank
You
you.
know-
Thank you, Robin, for that wonderful question. And David and Christine, I have absolutely enjoyed having you as audience members in the past when you showed up to support Robin. And you have made it today, the last episode, as we get prepared and bring the holidays in. I wanted to end this year with this joyful, happy, loving, nurturing role that a business can play in people's lives. And thank you. Thank you for accepting the invitation and coming today. Because to me, what you represent is a combination of my 3 favorite Christmas movies my husband and I watch between Thanksgiving and Christmas every year. It's a wonderful year. It's a wonderful world. Scrooge, the old version of Scrooge with Alistair, right? And then also Miracle on 34th Street.
Yes.
So
We
ability
love
to
you.
embody all of those emotions those 3 movies evoke
Thank you.
personally for me, right? And the message it contains, because Christmas and holiday season, there are 8 different faiths celebrating holidays this season. So, and they all embody the same premise. I'm a Hindu. I celebrate Christmas. I celebrate all of them. You know why? Because it is the spirit.
Yes.
The spirit of joy, the spirit of loving, the spirit of kindness, the spirit of giving. They're
Definitely.
all the same, right? Your name is Christine, you're David, Robin, Nandini, we are all different, but we're all human. And so to bring this message that you so beautifully embody, it's not what you do, it is who you are. And so authentically showing up the way you are so that we can showcase to the world as we go on to celebrate our respective holidays. We're all the same at the end of the day. We
Yes.
all want to be respected. We all want to receive kindness, and we all want to be loved. It's simple. Whether a puppy or a kitten or human, we all want the same thing. So I am very grateful that you made yourself available today to bring your story, your message, and your love and respect into the conversation. Because of you, people are going to figure out better ways to do business.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We hope so. But it's been a pleasure to be here, an honor, for
An
sure.
honor. Get to know you better. Thank you so much.
Thanks for everyone's comments, and wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and it's been great.
Thank you so very much.